Good morning, Harold. How are you? Good to see you. Hope you have a good flight. I'll see you on the flight. Hey, y'all. Well, it's story time in regards to that video I posted this morning of my husband and his mistress at the Atlanta airport. So, let me just preface this by saying, I'm a nice person. I'm a sweet person. I'll do anything for my family and my friends. And I'll help anybody out. Try to stay in my own lane. I try not to bother anyone or do any of that. But when people play in my face and plot and plan and do foul stuff, I'm not so nice anymore. And that's how most of us are. So let me start by saying on October 29th of 2022, my husband was scheduled to come home from a trip from Europe. He told me he had been over there working, and he worked a lot for his, his corporate job. I thought he was working anyway. Told me he had a speaking engagement in Europe. So I wanted to make sure that I had dinner and everything ready for him by the time he got home. So I called the airline. So I knew the flight number, and I was driving, so I couldn't, type it in my computer, because usually if you just type a flight number in, it'll just pop up what time the flight's going to land. So I had to call the airline that day. And when I asked the flight attendant, or not the flight attendant, I'm sorry, but the representative, what time that flight came in, he asked for my husband's name. And I was like, you don't need his name. I was like, just give me the flight information. If I typed it in, I just need the flight information. You don't need his name. So he was adamant about me giving the name. So I gave him the name. He comes back a few minutes later and he says, Mr. Such and Such and Miss what's her name landed 20 minutes ago.
Now, I'm going to stop it real quick, guys. I know y'all don't like me stopping it, but she couldn't type in a quick flight number or say, hey, Siri, hey, Google, whatever have you. And second of all, you call the airline, you happen to find the airline's number, you call them, and they ask you for the name. I don't know if they're allowed to do that. I didn't think that they were allowed to do that unless you had the reservation number, man. But just to call and they ask you, because obviously you didn't give them a reservation number, they call and ask you, and they just giving up all this information plus some extra information. Come on, man. Anyway, let's get back to it.
So I'm in shock, because I've been married 25, 26 years, and I'm thinking I'm just married to this upstanding citizen. So I said, no, just his name. I don't know who that other person is, but just his name. And the guy states again, he was like, Mr. Such and Such and Miss what's her name just landed a few minutes ago, like 20 minutes ago. So I'm sitting in the Kroger parking lot like, what does this mean? I'm in a state of shock, actually. So my head is spinning by this time. My blood pressure's going up. And I'm like, what does this mean? So I'm like, okay. So right after that, my husband calls. And I was trying to hold it in, trying to hold what I was feeling in. So I was like, I'm not going to say anything right now. I'm going to wait till he gets to the house. Because he was like, oh, I missed you. It's been a long, long week. This is the hardest money I ever earned. But I wish you could have gone with me. And I was like, okay, well, you can tell me about your trip when you get home. So, okay, stand by, y'all, for the rest. So, okay, y'all. So when he comes home, I greet him at the door, give him a hug and a kiss and ask him about his trip while he's unpacking. And so I'm like, show me some pictures from your trip. And he was like, oh, I didn't take any pictures. I was running around working and we were just so busy and on the go. We were just, just going to and fro. So I was like, oh, okay. So when we go to have dinner, I was like, hey, I called the airlines to see what time your flight was getting in. And I said, they told me there was someone else on your itinerary. And I tell him the person's name. And he was like, who was that? And I was like, I don't know. You tell me. He was like, oh, I don't know who that is. And he was like, He said, they must have made a mistake. So I was like, well, okay. So I went along with it, but something about it, my spirit just was not feeling right. So I was like, something about this is just not right. So that night when we go to bed, he's sleeping over there just a snoring. I'm over there tossing and turning because I was like, something about this just does not feel right. So something tells me in the morning when you get up, go check your credit card bills that are on the counter. So the credit card bills are all stacked up out on our kitchen counter. And I don't open them because I don't pay the bill. I mean, it's American Express bill each month. They be high. So I was like, I ain't got nothing on it. So no need for me to open them. But
Mind
that
your
was my
business.
account, and I added him to it years ago. And I just let him open it, open the bill and pay it. And there was sometimes I would open it, but most times I would just look at my portion of it and just keep it moving. So that morning when I get up, I go to church, and he tells me that he had to leave because he had to catch up on work and all that kind of stuff later on in the day. So I was like, okay. So I go to church, and when I come back from church, I get ready to go to the Falcon game. But something was like, check one of those credit card bills before you go. When I opened up that bill, the woman that the airline employee mentioned that was on his itinerary, her name was up and down my credit card bill. Flights here, flights there, flights to Paris, Delta vacations, country here, island there. So I'm thinking this was in 1 month. So I'm sitting there like, what in the world? So by this time, y'all, I'm steaming, and I got to go to this Falcon game with my girlfriends and try to act like I'm having a good time. But the whole time, my mind is racing. So I was like, okay. So I come home that night. I stack up all those bills. I got bills for like 8 months worth of bills. Actually, that was October. So 10 months. I pulled from December of 21 to October of 22. And when I tell you, it was very telling. This woman's name was on every one of my bills for each of those months, several times. So while I thought he was out working and telling me that I couldn't travel with him because, he didn't want to get distracted. Oh, he had a travel mate, all right. He had one. Stand by for part 3. So I go through all these credit card bills, finds this girl's name for months on my credit card bills, for the last 10 months specifically. So at that time, I try to call his phone, call my husband's phone and text him. No answer, no text back. So I called his boy's house because he told me he was going to his boy's house to watch football. No answer from him. So I texted him and was like, hey, is he with you? No answer back. Then all of a sudden, here come my phone ringing. It's my husband. Like, oh, I ran out to get something to eat. Like, what's up? And I was like, oh, you know what's up. I said, and I started repeating the girl's name. And he was like, why you keep saying that name? And I was like, I kept saying the name. So he was like, well, I don't understand why you keep calling that name. And I was like, oh, yeah. I said, your gig is up. I was like, you nasty. I was like, your gig is up. So he was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm on my way home. I was like, bring it on home. I was like, come home. Because by this time, I'm furious. So I hang up the phone. I'm just like livid, y'all. I promise you. I think my blood pressure was on like 1,000.
So real quick, we're coming towards the end though, guys. But before I lose my thoughts here. So good buddy, obviously y'all saw the chick in the beginning. She's smiling, cheesing. She already know who you are. You didn't bother to look the name up. You give him a hug and kiss, blow by blow, all this stuff like that. And seems like this is a pretty cool marriage. Everything's going well. You decide to do some snooping or whatever. Obviously, they volunteer some information, which I think is BS, in my opinion, but I got it. So y'all old school. Y'all don't do the paperless bill. It comes to the house. It stacks up. And I'm assuming y'all send the check to pay the bill as well. Nobody pays online, I guess. They just keep letters. Anyway, her name is on the stuff. Okay, you got it. What are we doing here? You want him to admit it? You saw what you saw. I get it, baby. Now we're coming to the climax of this story here. We're about to see what happens. 25 years, he clapped several cheeks. Newsflash, ladies. Business trips, even if it ain't business trips. This man is clapping some cheeks in 25 years. You're well taken care of. You're the wifey for lifey. Why are you worried? Gira, this is horrible. Why are you talking like that? Let's get back to it, though, guys. Let's go.
That day. So he comes in, and he come in like all Billy Bad, like, why you keep mentioning that name? And I was like, you tell me why I keep mentioning that name. So I was like, I'm going to ask you this. I said, I'm going to ask you one time. I said, no, I know the truth. I was like, was such and such on this flight with you? He was like, no, I don't know why you keep mentioning that name. I don't know who that is. I said, I'm going to ask you one more time and know that I know the truth. Don't lie to me. And it was like this mask fell off of him. And he sat down in his chair and he was like, yeah, she was with me. And I was like, okay. I said, so that's your girlfriend? He was like, yeah. I said, well, how long you been with her? He said, a couple of years. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So by this time, I can't hold it together. I mean, all I remember doing, I remember crying, and I had a really, really bad headache. And all he said to me was, and this was what he says was really kind of like cut me. He was like he was relieved. He was like, at least I ain't got to lie no more. I'm sorry I hurt you, but at least I don't have to lie anymore. So by this time, I'm like, say what now? So I'm screaming, I'm yelling. My son's upstairs. He comes down, goes back up, because I was like, everything's fine, everything's fine. But my head is like hurting like really, really bad, guys. So I come back to my bathroom to try to get some medicine. So I was like, let me take my blood pressure. Blood pressure was like 190 over 110 or some crazy like that. So I was like, I got to get to a hospital. So stand by. It gets more interesting.
So good thing Buddy just fessed up at the end of the day, because he's like, hey, I've been rocking with her 2 years. If you get upset, so what? You already know what's up. Why you asking me all these questions, man? Let's finish the rest of this out and see what actually happens here. Let's go.
So by this time, my head is banging, and I know I need to go to the hospital. I know something is wrong. So of course, I'm crying. I'm hysterical, trying to put my clothes on. He's trying to touch me and pet me up like, oh, I'm just so sorry that I made you feel this way. Now, didn't really have any compassion in his voice, any of that kind of stuff. So I was like, don't touch me. So I drive myself to the airport. He was like, I'll drive you. I was like, I said, I'll take my chances. I drive myself to the airport. I get there. Blood pressure is off the charts, to the point they're like, ma'am, you're about to have a stroke. You got to calm down. And I really couldn't even talk. So they were like, you got to calm down. So they call my doctor. We get the medicine. They try to get it under control. So I'm there for a couple of hours. So I come home, and he's sitting on the couch eating Cheetos like ain't shit happened, right? Then
Just so you guys know, I guess she meant to say hospital. She drove herself to the hospital, not the airport, just for a correction there. But let's get back to it.
Comes in like, oh, what they say? And I was like, they said they got my pressure, kind of down, because it went all the way down. They said, go see a doctor in the morning. So that night I could not sleep. I cried all night long, to the point when I got up that morning, I really couldn't even see. My eyes were so swollen. So I'm tore up, right? So I go out later that morning. He's upstairs. I come upstairs because I slept in another bedroom. He's around here like, like doo, like, he having a good day and like, his burdens is light. Mine heavy, but his is light. So I come up, and then he's out in our family room, and I was like, look, I said, I don't know. And I'm still in a state of confusion. So I was like, I don't know what happened last night. And I was like, I don't know what I've done wrong. Because by this time I'm blaming myself. I was like, I know I'm getting older, but I try to keep myself up. I try to look nice, do whatever I can as a wife. I was like, I've tried my best, so I don't even know what I could have done or what I can do. So I'm taking the blame. And he was like, oh, it's not you. Like, it's not you. So, but I'm like, no, like, it's gotta be me. He was like, no, he's like, you're a good wife. You've been a really good wife. So I was like, well, I'll tell you what. I was like, I'm confused here. I say, so what we need to do, I was like, I think we need to sell the house. Let's move away, try to start over. You go to counseling. I go to counseling. We do some counseling, and we start over. So he was kind of like real smug with it. Like, well, if that's what you want, like, yeah, we can do that. So I was like, well, what about her? Are you going to stop seeing her? So he paused for like 20 seconds and kind of tilted his head to the side. He was like, I ain't gonna tell you I'm gonna stop seeing her. And I was like, then you want a divorce? He was like, oh, I don't want a divorce. He was like, I ain't gonna let nobody f up my money. And I was blown away. Y'all, when he hit me with I don't want a divorce, but I'm gonna keep seeing her, because I ain't gonna let nobody f up my money. Let me tell you something. That was definitely the wrong answer, and told me everything I needed to know about him, about the marriage, and what I needed to do next. So for the next couple of days, I'm still in a state of confusion. And I remember once I found the girl's name, I went to Instagram, good old Instagram. You go look there, you find anything. So I look up her name, I see her, and I'm really like feeling down. I'm like, oh my God, like, she's beautiful. He wants him someone young.
So she shouldn't have did that, but obviously that's what women are going to do. So ladies, and it's strange after 25 years, she just now catching them, 25, 26 years, whatever it is. And this is how some men are. Unfortunately, he wasn't honest with her up front, but he's doing all this traveling. He got a pretty young thing. He probably financing her lifestyle, taking her on trips. And some women are cool with that, being side chicks. So he's like, I got caught. You trying to fix everything. He knows that you really don't have too many options because I'm assuming this woman is in her mid 50s. By looking at her, I'm assuming she's in her mid 50s. But he's like, she's cool with it. You need to be cool with it. You the wifey at home. Everything's cool. You're a good wife. But I just like some young buns on the side. And I can still smash and dash, and that's it. And I have my time with you. And hopefully you go for it. She tried to fix everything by offering all these different solutions. Let's move away. Let's start over. But that's not going in counseling. That's not going to stop him from wanting a younger woman. It's just how it is. Some dudes just don't want to be honest sometimes, or they don't value their vows that they took with their wife. And that's unfortunate. It's that way instead of just divorcing. And a lot of ladies are blindsided. But let's get back to the video, see what happens.
Like I ain't all that, So I'm just tearing my ass up. So, my girls called later that day. My best friend called that morning and was checking in on me, and I was trying to hide it from her, but I couldn't. So I'm like in a ball of tears, telling her what's happened. She's in a state of shock. And usually she always got something to say, but she was left speechless. So she calls my other girlfriend. She calls. We all in a state of shock. Everybody's tore to pieces. So that day, after, I tell them what happened and everything, everybody, we just call it, we all were shocked. So the next day I go and meet with them because I see this girl on Instagram, and I'm telling them about it. So they asked me to come out to lunch, have lunch with them, my two girlfriends. So, because they needed to tell me something. So, and I bring it up. I was like, well, I see her pictures on Instagram, and I was like, she's pretty. And they were like, girl, she ain't all that pretty. Like, that's filters and plastic surgery and a whole bunch of other shit. Like, girl, it ain't even all that. And they were like, and kind of, it's like, we ain't trying to offend you. Y'all actually kind of favor each other. Like, she may be the younger version of you. So I'm thinking, like, I don't look like her. Like, that girl's, pretty. Like, I don't look like that. So in the interim, I was like, well, at least I said they don't have any pictures of themselves up on her Instagram. So my girlfriends was like, that's why we needed to meet with you. Because they were like, there is a picture out there. So by this time, y'all, I'm devastated. So our food tries to come. We have papados. Food comes. I'm so distraught from tears and looking a hot mess. Couldn't really even eat. And we went into how bad off I was. You know you bad off when you can't do this. We needed to pray over our food. I couldn't even put my hands together to pray. I have never had that to happen. I couldn't even pray. I literally put my head down on the table while they were saying a prayer and cried. And basically they made me try to eat because I really could not eat anything. So it was just a complete mess. So when I get home, my husband, he was actually gone. I think he was gone, but he claimed he had a trip or something. And then he tells me when he did come home, like, well, I need to talk to you because I think we need a little break. So he was like, you need a break so you can think about some things. And I was like, huh? Like, I need to think about some things. He was like, yeah, you need a break so you can think about some things. So yeah, to add insult to injury, he tells me he needs to go away for 3 to 6 months for me to think about some things and to think some things over. And I was like, I need to think some things over. I was like, I don't need to think about anything. He was like, yeah, I need to go away so you can think about some things. So I'm like, okay. And this is the straw that broke the camel's back when he said this. And when I knew that this man actually had no love for me and that he had been planning and plotting for a long time. He was like, yeah, and if you find somebody in that 3 to 6 month time frame, I'll understand.
Now, real quick, because you normally see this, you normally don't see at this point, and it's for obvious reasons, guys, other than if a woman just accumulates a bunch of money and she just gets herself a younger boy toy. But it's usually the man that gets a younger woman, or it's just gotten old with the wife. But I guess this is some things that happens a lot when you have those midlife crises and stuff like that, when you're in your 50s, 60s, a little bit too old, but I'm assuming it's still happening. But he's just like, yo, if you find somebody to make you happy, I'm happy with this younger chick. You're a good wife, but I'm just not happy with you right now. I have a good time with her. For women, it's more difficult. I get it. Even though you got money, you looking for companionship with this one dude, but you might have to find it in a younger guy that is not really going to take you seriously, But anyway, let's get back to the video, man. Let's see what happens.
Tell their spouse that. If they really love you, they don't want you all sleeping with nobody else. Not if everybody normal, ain't nobody sick or doing anything like that. So I knew then, I was like, I don't have but one other option. Divorce is the only option for me. And I tell you, I prayed about it, asked God about it. And when I tell you, he was sending me signs. If you listen, he will send you signs. And he sent me sign after sign after sign, y'all. So I did. I filed for divorce. And each day I've gotten stronger. And I think my husband thought that, I don't know what he thought about me or what kind of person I was, but because he knew how I felt about infidelity. And I always used to tell him, you know, hey, if something ever happens, tell me on the front end, because I'm gonna hurt one way or the other, on the front end, on the back end. Just let me know, but don't play me for no fool. So he thought he got Boo Boo the fool over here. So I was like, okay. And from Miss Girl that you saw in the video, yeah, she knew about me. He would have her at restaurants, hotels, games, had other women serving me my drinks. They'd feet under my table speaking to me, and he's sleeping with all these women. That is humiliating, y'all. So, you know what? I was like, if you give me to taste, I'm gonna let you taste it back. So, to the airport video. Yeah, I was shocked. I was dismayed because that was my first time seeing them. I knew eventually that I would see them out somewhere. It's Atlanta, and hey, it's a small town. So it's a big town, but it's a small town too. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try my best to be classy and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes that just don't work, because when you go in a gutter, when people go gutter with you, and I have to apologize to Michelle Obama. Girl, when you said that, when they go low, we go high. That ain't my motto, because when they go low, I go lower, I go gutter. I'm going gutter. I'm going to swim down with the rats, but you're right. So I was like, okay, yeah. So she knew, and she was on Instagram sending all her little subliminal messages and all of that. Like, yeah, okay, I got you, girl. But y'all, when all this is over, I got a little story to tell about her and the rest of his story too. Our story. It's actually our story, because it's my story to tell. So I'll share more with you all, but let me tell you something that's a cautionary tale. If you all want to move on, just say you want to move on, y'all. Because if you around, you definitely going to find out. And just like him, my husband got the 1 and the 2. Be good. Y'all hear from me later. Bye.
Now, for those of you who don't know, that is Gail Lewis. Now, Gail Lewis, she's not a bad looker for her age. I believe she was on Real Housewives of Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken. She was cool with Kandi Burruss. I think they did a video not too long ago because Kandi found out that she was the one that was going viral about this situation. But baby, he got himself a honey dip that don't care. He might lose you in the process. He basically was just saying, hey, I need you to get on the program. If you don't want to get on the program, I got this other one right here. She's on the program. If you don't want to get on the program, then so be it. You're getting divorced. I guess he's already prepared for this to happen. So whatever goes on is what goes on. But you'd be surprised. I always say, man, you go through anybody's phone, you're going to find out. Just like with her, I'm pretty sure she had some dudes she was chatting with, but she'll never say that. Just how other women. I'm not blaming this on her, but I'm just saying the fact that the dude went above and beyond, he should have just told that lady that, hey, I got me a little honey dip. I'm just moving on with life, and that'd be that. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Comment below. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Listen, much blessings and abundance. Stick around for the next video that's going to pop up on the screen below. That's where I'm going to see you guys at. It's your favorite everything. This is Wisdom. I'm out of here. Peace.